Republicans will never lose another election in Wisconsin after I'm elected governor.
Yeah, you heard that right. Now, I don't know how, maybe he has a crystal ball or something that he can predict that after he takes office that another Republican would never ever lose again. Or maybe he's talking about rigging some stuff by changing public policy in a way that makes it harder and harder and harder for people who would not vote that way to vote. I don't know what that means, but he got some superpowers that I just don't know about. So you heard it, he said that, he said the quiet part out loud. Republicans will never lose another election in Wisconsin after I'm elected governor. And that's dangerous. So Tim Michels, who won his August primary with Trump's endorsement, has left open the possibility that he would try to decertify the 2020 election in Wisconsin, which legal scholars say is impossible. He has declined to say whether he would certify the results of the 2024 election. Now, if the man wins, so he's talking about going backwards and then also going forward with this thing too. We don't know. But what we do know is what came out of his mouth. He was very, very clear. And the race in Wisconsin is very close. It is extremely close. Take a look at that. Very close. This man could be governor. God forbid. Mike?
Yeah, maybe he just thinks that his policies are gonna be so popular that nobody would ever dare vote for a Democrat ever again.
Is that what it is?
Maybe that's what it is, Okay. No, but since we've been watching the last 2 years and we haven't been living in a cave, at least I'm assuming that for most people, I think we all know what this means. I mean, when you have so many GOP governors who are governor candidates, by the way, who are denying the election, when you have secretaries of state, attorneys general across the country who are election deniers, we're in very dangerous territory. And we don't necessarily know how this is going to play out. We can only anticipate what will or won't happen. I think that the most obvious situation that we could find ourselves in is that if Trump or Republicans wanted to stage a coup again, this time they have more institutional power that would make them successful. And then I'm thinking about this and the Supreme Court case that's working its way through the system. They hear it on December 7th, I believe, Moore v. Harper, to where if they approve independent state legislature theory, this could actually legitimize, constitutionally speaking, governors just subverting the will of the people. So if they want to appoint their own electors, they can technically do that. So we're in such dangerous territory. And I think that for all of the people who are worried about democracy, I don't think anyone really understands the extent to which we should be afraid, not to fearmonger, but this is how democracies die. And I think that a lot of us take democracy for granted. First of all, because the United States has never been a real democracy, arguably. I mean, democracies require universal suffrage. They require consolidation of the institutions and making it more democratic. But what democracy we have currently, it's in danger. And I think that people believe that since we've all been conditioned to live in democracy, that's what's always gonna be the case. But if you look around the world, most democracies, statistically speaking, die at some point. Every single democracy has a shelf life. Now, yes, it is the case that there are some advantages for us. Our democracy has existed longer, so that gives us some advantages. There's additional buy-in that we don't see with newly democratized countries around the world. But democracy at some point is going to die. And I think that we're in that beginning stage of the end stage of democracy. And I just don't think that people understand what that's gonna look like and how bad it's going to get, how much civil rights and civil liberties we will lose as a country if we lose our democracy. And it's already bad, but under an actual authoritarian regime, it gets worse. So it's just, I'm very fearful for the future. And it comes at the worst time when we should be doing everything in our power to unite as a human species to solve climate change, but we're going backwards at the worst possible time. So it's just like this combination of bad things that I feel like it's leading to our demise as a species. And I don't know how to internally grapple with that. It's really dark.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. And certainly regression happens more quickly than progress. My grandmother used to say, it's easier to jump in the hole than it is to get out. And we're seeing that happen in real time right now in this country and all across the world. Now, Tim Michels is running against incumbent Democratic Governor Tony Evers. And here's a fun fact. It's an important fact. Maybe I should call it an important fact. But Governor Tony Evers vetoed 9 Republican election bills earlier this year. And those bills would have made it even harder for people to vote in Wisconsin. Let's take a look at what this governor did. So the Republican controlled Wisconsin legislature election bills banned local officials from correcting information on the absentee ballot, narrowed the definition of indefinitely confined voters, required the state to verify the citizenship of immigration, made it harder to request absentee ballots, deactivated the registrations of voters with discrepancies, giving the legislature more power to block federal election guidance. And Mike, I don't know why I want to use that full name. Mike, you were alluding to that about the case that is going before the Supreme Court right now. You have state legislatures trying to do it themselves. And it is vitally important who holds the people's power. And I know sometimes when we say things like that, it sounds so trite, but this is real. And one of the failures, Mike, I believe, of the Democratic Party is to just totally cede territory on state legislatures to Republicans. And Republicans have been very comfortable with Democrats winning I shouldn't say comfortable, but they have accepted winning the Congress, even though they'll push back on that, and winning the presidency. And they have gone all in on controlling state legislatures across this country. You cannot just hold the levers of power on the federal level. You got to have other teams, you got to have other players on the field, on the state, regional, and local levels of government. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why the Democratic Party does not look at the winning of elections in a holistic way.
Yeah, it's especially crucial now because where the electoral theft could happen if Republicans did want to do something would primarily be at the local level. So Democrats should never miss an opportunity to run someone in a race. Never just expect that, oh, there's gonna be a Democrat running. Like, invest in these local races. And that's one area where the Republican Party, to their credit, has been a lot more savvy. They don't ever just sit out of a school board race. They run everyone from president to dog catcher. They don't care. And that's where Democrats, I think, have really failed. And what makes the situation in Wisconsin worse is that, as you alluded to, there are Republicans in control of the legislature. So you have this authoritarian who says Republicans will never lose an election again. And then he has effectively unlimited power because he has the legislature behind him, who's already pretty authoritarian. So it just makes for a disaster. And I don't know how bad it's gonna get, but if they feel that the election didn't go their way, they now effectively, it looks like they will have at least the people in charge that can create institutions that let them steal elections. And that's so terrifying.
It really is, and they're making it very clear. I think the good part about this bad situation, and I'm using the word good slightly sarcastically, is that they saying the quiet part out loud.
Right.
That they are overtly saying what they plan to do. So at least it gives us somewhat, Mike, of a fighting chance. They're not just doing this covertly, they're doing it very overtly. If there's just one like slither of silver lining, that is it.
Yeah, I agree with that, absolutely.
So the drowning of democracy, we keeping this going.